We have the Back to the Village Food Bazaar on the 14th. We have the Accra City Tour from the 23rd. And of course, we have the Accra Music Expo. There's a lot happening in March. Don't be left out. Go to cityfm.com for more details. Newspaper review is brought to us by Fidelity Bank. The word together means being united in a common goal, because in unity lies our collective Ghanaian strength. Now, when people are connected, they agree on what to do and on how to do it, and they act together to achieve a bigger purpose. At Fidelity, our success is driven by belief that working with you, we can do amazing things, because together we're so much more. Fidelity Bank, believe with us. We're also sponsored by the unrelenting Total Quartz Future 0W20, an amazing oil that protects and cleans and makes your engine function better. For optimum performance and efficiency of your car, visit the nearest Total service station and ensure you're well protected. Join the Quartz Nation movement now. Total Quartz, keep your engine younger for longer. 6:32. The name is Bernard, and I am here with Nathan Kwao, the musicologist, and of course Godfred. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm wondering what you guys have up your sleeve today.
Well, it's the day before Ghana celebrates its 63rd anniversary.
63rd anniversary.
My sleeve is short. There's not much up.
There's not that much your sleeve. Well, Godfred had some interesting things up his sleeve yesterday.
Yeah.
The highlight of which he gave a new name to Gary Soaking.
That was another random one.
No, that was you. So we'll see what you have up your sleeve today.
We'll find out.
But let's jump straight into the papers.
Well, it's a heavy day for the graphic, and I mean literally a heavy
the
day.
Is heavy.
For the graphic.
Did you have a pull out or something?
Yes, a whole Independence pull out. That is a newspaper on its own.
Okay.
That is for Independence Day. But on the front page of the paper itself, it says Kumasi gears up for 63rd Independence Anniversary. And then ideological rivalry heralded independence, marching for 63 years. Is it still relevant, is the question that the graphic is asking this morning.
Yeah, we can change the style small. Much pass.
The Ghanaian Times says, I'm satisfied with our preparedness to combat coronavirus disease. The president speaking there. Government commits additional $2 million to fight COVID-19. That's from the health minister. And Kwesi Nyantechi, another, charged with fraud, granted 1 million cedi bail.
Front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Nyantechi charged with fraud. Nana storms Kotoka over Chinese Ebola.
Oh boy.
US-based man petitions against MPP candidate. And NDC threatens Airbus chaos.
The Chronicle says Sogakope assemblyman killed for revenge, but Rawlings thinks it is a politically related murder. AG fires 2 bullets at Kwesi Nyantechi. EC saga, go to court if you have a case. That's MAC speaking. And Danquest Ghana, 63 years on. That's something in the Chronicle.
Front page of the Daily Statesman. All roads lead to Kumasi tomorrow as Asanteman hosts 63rd National Independence Day celebration. I'm satisfied so far. President Okay's measures to contain coronavirus. Documents expose NDC lies on EC procurement.
The New Crusading Guide says coronavirus preparedness. The president storms airports and others to check measures.
Storms.
Hey, Charlie. DI celebrates JB Dankwa 63 years on. MPP parliamentary aspirant's ambition under threat as members file petition to disqualify him. And court again adjourns Erasmus Kwao v GOC case due to part heads.
Front page of the Business Finder newspaper. Will meet $1 billion revenue target. Vegetable growers, exporters upbeat. Make trade policy more favorable to local firms, according to the TUC. It's a good call. GNPC cuts sought for $2.5 million Temamai here hospital.
Let's go online. CityNewsroom.com lead story. Nanado cuts sought for National Cathedral project today. Meanwhile, he expresses satisfaction with Ghana's coronavirus preparedness. Also, still on this, government will set up 100-bed capacity quarantine center in 2 weeks. Other stories, Volta region, Sogakope police to be investigated following residents' anger. And automobile dealers say exempt trucks and trotros from ban on used cars. If you go to citybusinessnews.com, Guta begs banks to lessen pressure on their members as coronavirus slows their business. Meanwhile, World Bank supports countries hit by coronavirus with $12 billion and $200 million port projects at Mpakadan and Debre to boost transportation on the Volta Lake. MyJournalline.com leads with number of stories. I'm too young to leave politics. Kwabena Japan on MPP comeback. Also, Kwesi Nyantechi, one other granted bail. And there's another one on Kwesi Nyantechi. The fraud Nyantechi is alleged to have committed. Exclusive details in the state's case. Now, everywhere else is corona. If you go to Nigeria, the lead story on Channels Television is coronavirus. They're saying that their temporary coronavirus isolation center is not in good shape. This is the Senate president speaking. If you go to BBC, California declares emergency over coronavirus. IMF provides $50 billion to fight the virus outbreak. All major papers are talking about the virus. I think that's the lead story
everywhere
in the world today. As it is in Ghana. But
Yes.
we also have an Independence Day to celebrate.
Yes.
So maybe I want you to start with what do you want to start with? Graphic?
Yeah, but I also start with Corona.
Corona, okay.
Since Corona is everywhere.
Yeah.
Page 20.
I mean, CNN also talks about Japan having its worst day of infections yet. As global cases top 3,500.
So page
Deaths,
25 of the daily graphic. I am satisfied with preparedness for COVID-19. President Akufo-Addo comes with a photo of the president being thermal checked at the at the airport.
Okay.
Well, President Akufo-Addo has expressed his satisfaction with the preparedness of the country for any possible case of the COVID-19 and urged all to keep our fingers crossed. He was speaking after inspecting facilities processes and personnel earmarked for the detection, quarantine, and treatment of the virus at the Kotoka International Airport. At the KIA, President Akufo-Addo, who returned from a European tour last Tuesday, went through the screening process and was declared fit by the health personnel at the arrival area. So far, Ghana has had no reported case of the disease. Now, according to Mr. Kwakwa, who is the managing director of the Ghana Airport Company, the airport had recorded 2 cases of people showing signs similar to those of the COVID-19. However, when the suspects were quarantined and their samples taken, they proved negative. At the Rich Hospital, the president was taking around the infectious disease isolation center and also interacted with some health personnel.
All right, Nathan, what else do you have on that?
Well, the Ghanaian Times says government commits an additional $2 million to fight COVID-19. That's according to the health minister.
Okay.
And he has assured that government is doing everything possible to protect us, the citizenry, against the outbreak and spread of the coronavirus in Ghana. And their quotes, he says, public health emergency management structures at all levels, national, regional, district have been activated and placed on high alert. Alerts have been sent to all regions to activate public health emergency management committees to initiate preparedness activities and enhance surveillance for the respiratory disease, he told Parliament in Accra.
Let me just
yesterday.
give you 2 quick angles to this. Minister of Health, Kwakwa Jamamenu, the man you referred to, says Ghana is setting up a 100 bed capacities facility in a remote area to serve as a center for quarantining persons with suspected coronavirus infection. Recall when I interviewed the Ghana Health Service director, he couldn't provide an answer to whether they had an isolation center. Now, according to the minister, the facility will be ready in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Mr. Ajimamenu made this known on Wednesday when he briefed Parliament. Now, let me give you 2 global stories quickly on this. So, IMF is providing $50 billion to fight the coronavirus. The International Monetary Fund has announced $50 billion to support countries hit by the virus. They also warn that the outbreak has already pushed this year's global economic growth below last year's levels. Now, CNN is talking about Japan seeing its biggest one-day increase in infections. So when the thing reduces in some places, it now goes up somewhere else. So let me just read that for you quickly. Then we would come to other stories.
No,
So,
and also the questions have been raised. I remember Mr. Aylward, the man in charge of the
Aylward.
global fight, yes, has said that perhaps it will be harder for a lot of other countries to replicate what China has done, because what China did is basically its everyday system.
so they basically can close.
They can close the country down if they want to.
Exactly.
But a lot of
countries
countries can't do that.
Yeah. Now the US has 159 coronavirus cases. Japan recorded its worst day of infections yesterday. And the story also says that California in the US has declared a state of emergency over coronavirus. 29 cases confirmed in India, the world's second most populous country. And as you are saying, the way China deals with things not the same way India would. So, yeah, the top lines. 3,200 people have died. Now, 95,000 global cases. Infections in 75 countries and territories. Italy will close all schools and universities around the country until the middle of this month as officials work to contain the outbreak. First deaths confirmed in California, Iraq, and Spain, who have all recorded their first coronavirus cases. So that's just by way of update on the disease. Let's
Okay.
come to other stories.
Yeah, let's do some courts. I'll do Nyantechi. Nathan can tell you about some bad boy in Sunyani who's been arrested. Nyantechi Alasan charged granted a million Ghana cedi bail. Former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantechi, has been charged with conspiracy to commit crime, fraud, and corruption by a public officer. He was charged together with a former chairman of the Northern Regional Football Association, Abdullahi Al-Hassan. The two pleaded not guilty to the charges when they appeared before the Criminal Division of the Accra High Court yesterday. They were ever granted bail in the sum of 1 million Ghana cedis each, with 3 sureties, one to be justified. A principal state attorney, Miss Victoria Sidwa, did not oppose the bail application, but asked the court to ensure that the conditions were stringent enough to guarantee that the accused persons would avail themselves to stand trial. Briefing the Daily Graphic after court proceedings, one of the lawyers for Nyantechi, Mr. Charles Posing, said it is our view that these are not charges that can be proved by the state. He said although his clients could meet the bail conditions, we think that the kind of offense and the amount the state attorney says they are involved in, they ought to know to have granted such a bail condition. So more details have emerged on that matter.
If you go to page 3 of the Ghanaian Times, this is coming from Sunyani. It says a suspected serial rapist has been arrested.
Charlie,
Bernard,
So-
this story, when I heard it yesterday.
you give us the details. It's a really
Now, a
terrible story.
suspected serial rapist and armed robber who has been operating in the Sunyani municipality for the past 1 year has been arrested by the police. The suspect, Abdullah Karim alias JJ, age 24, is alleged to have raped more than 11 women,
It's crazy.
including a nun, a female staff of Newmont Gold Corporation, police and immigration officers. The suspect is also alleged to have been involved in a number of robbery cases in Sunyani and other communities. Now, according to the police, victims of the suspect could be more, as some are hesitant to come out for fear of being
But
stigmatized.
how come he's been doing this for how long? What does the story tell us? What's
So,
the background?
okay, so DCOP Owusu Boateng, who's the Bono Regional Police Commander, told journalists that the suspect's modus operandi was to switch off the meter of his victims at their residence. Now, he would then sneak into their rooms whilst they would come out to work on the meter and then later rape and rob them at gunpoint.
Charlie, this guy needs a lot of examination. Anyway, so we need to deal with that story. So that's now.
Yeah,
Let's come
and
back
then,
to.
and then there's another court story quickly.
Okay.
It says 20 out of the 21 persons arrested at a military training ground in the Volta region in connection with the secessionist group Homeland Steady Group Foundation were yesterday discharged by an Accra Circuit Court. This was after the prosecutor, Chief Inspector Simon Apio Sonu, had told the court that the 20 persons were victims of circumstances. The prosecutor said that investigations revealed that the 20 accused were not connected with the offense
Exactly.
and therefore urged the court, presided by Mrs. Ellen Ofori Aye, to discharge.
Remember, we
them.
said
You called
yes.
this right.
They
That when
told,
you listen
they told
to the
us
people,
that they were looking for work
Yes.
and they had been asked to pay money
pay
to come and
money,
be recruited into
yes,
the
and
police,
then-
only to find out that some people were using that place to train. So it was really. It would have been sad. Now let's
You-
stay
you
with the
called this
police.
right.
Volta Region, Sogakofe Police to be investigated following residents' anger. Story says the Volta Regional Police Commander has refuted claims that its personnel failed to respond to distress calls during the killing of the South Sogakofe Assemblyman Marcus Mauto Ajali. The command, however, says it will investigate claims by the residents that the police in the area have been negligent amid the purported increase in violent crime. At a press briefing on Wednesday, March 4, the Volta Regional Police Commander, D-Cop Edward Odrokwatin, said this assurance is non-negotiable and the results will soon manifest. And this was after the disturbances on Sunday and Monday.
And if you go to the Chronicle on page 3, they also have a take on that. They are asking, Sogakope Assemblyman killed for revenge? Well, the story reads, residents of Sogakope in the Southern District of the Volta region are in the state of fear following the unknown motive behind the gruesome murder of the assembly member, Mr. Mauto Ajali, aka Marcus, in the early hours of Sunday, March 1. His wife and child were neither spared by the assailants who inflicted injuries on them. The Chronicle reporter, who has pitched camp in the lower Volta Bridgetown, can confirm that some close associates of the deceased, due to the uncertainty surrounding his death, have fled the town seeking revenge in some unknown
Seeking
location.
refuge.
Refuge. Why? Seeking refuge, sorry. Now, the story goes on to say that the deceased's shop at the bread market was broken into by a thief somewhere last year. Some youth present reportedly chased and caught up with the supposed intruder at the outskirts of the town, which is gradually becoming a tourist destination. So it goes on, and even at an angle of former President Rawlings saying that, well, it could be politically motivated.
All right, let's come to the business finder.
Yes, Bernard, a lot of our great stories in the newspapers today will meet $1 billion revenue target. Vegetable growers, exporters upbeat. Vegetable growers and exporters in Ghana are beat about meeting the $1 billion target in earnings from vegetable exports projected recently by President Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo. To meet the target, Vegetable Producers and Exporters Association of Ghana, VEPIAC, with some 400 members, says it is taking steps to train farmers to comply with quality and safety standards in line with international requirements.
If you go to the business page of the Chronicle, page 7, there's a very disturbing story. Godfrey, now this will interest you. Customs officials from the Ave Havi station under the Aflao command of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority have intercepted 600 bags of urea fertilizer meant for the Planting for Food and Jobs program. 3 suspects, John Paul, the alleged owner of the consignment, William Dosu, driver of the transporting vehicle, and his mate were arrested for allegedly attempting to smuggle the goods into neighboring Togo.
Hey, Planting for Food and Jobs fertilizer.
Yeah, so we thought the trend had died out. Well, it looks like
how is it going to die out?
So how did they find these guys?
Well, it says, if you listen to Mr. Selassie Geraldo, he's member of the customs dispatch team that made the arrest, said the station had some info that some people were smuggling the fertilizers out of the country. He said the officers quickly moved to arrest the suspects and goods on an unapproved route after Ave Atiglime in the Akachi North District heading to Togo. John Paul denied the claim of attempting to smuggle the fertilizers and said he was a farm input dealer and was bringing goods from Insawam to his warehouse at Avedakpa in the Akachi North area to sell
Let's
to
go
farmers.
to citynewsroom.com. Exempt trucks and trucks from ban on used cars. Automobile Dealers Union say the General Secretary of the Automobile Dealers Union, Clifford Ansu, has asked the government to be more lenient in its plan to ban salvage vehicles and used vehicles older than 10 years. Speaking on the point of view, Mr. Ansu said trotters and trucks should be excluded because for those ones, if they are less than 10 years, you cannot buy them in Europe or Korea and bring them here. They are very expensive, he said. Among other things, Mr. Ansu said his union also wants clarity on what constituted a salvage vehicle. He also feels the government could be more flexible in its definition. This has really generated uproar among the vehicle importers.
Well, Bernard, like I said today, the Daily Graphic has dedicated almost all its pages to several angles of the independence struggle. If you go to page 13, they are celebrating women, but they are saying affirmative action lacks, and that's also because March 8th is International Day of Women. They've also done a full page on sports. They've done a bit on.
But I thought you would read for me the lead story about the Independence Day celebrations
on marching.
Yes.
Well, let me give you the Kumasi is guest of 63rd Independence.
Because of one about why we keep marching.
Yes, I'll take you to that one in a bit. Kumasi, the Ashanti regional capital, is waiting with bated breath to host the rest of the country at the Baba Yara Stadium tomorrow, as Ghana marks 63 years of independence from British colonial rule. It will be the first time the event to be hosted at the Garden City and outside Accra, and the second outside Accra since government introduced the rotational system to give each region a feel of the event. Beyond the normal parade and speeches, the event's ground is expected to be flooded with personalities in traditional wear, mainly kente, as the people of the region have vowed to showcase their rich yes to showcase their rich culture spiced with kente and adoa dances. The city has also held a pre-Independence Day Jamboree at Amakum, one of its most popular suburbs. There has been a blend of old and new generation music throughout the week with events and activities to promote traditional food, especially fufu and the wearing of kente and other local. It looks like a lot is happening. Now, at the stadium where the event will be held, there's already heavy security presence, especially around the days where the President Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his special guest, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and other dignitaries will sit. About 2,000 very important personalities will flank the president on the days. And so you can get the paper to get a proper lowdown on what is happening in Kumasi. Now, if you go to page 20 of the same paper, they're asking the question, marching for 63 years, is it still relevant? This is
a very good question.
Question being asked by Severus Kalideri and Timothy Goba. They stand as symbols of the lights lit by our forefathers and move their limbs briskly in remembrance of the cause of freedom. The above personifies the spirit of patriotism inculcated in the youth since 1957, when the country freed itself from the shackles of colonialism. However, they opine that celebrating the march, while some opine that celebrating the day with a march past is still relevant, others are of the view that the exercise, which forms an integral part of the celebration, has outlived its usefulness and should be scrapped. So they break it down into the toll it takes on children and the suggestion that they should use just the cadet corps of schools.
But why do we even have to march? For what?
We are expressing our patriotism.
To the country. Okay, we should clean that country.
You know, they give awards and stuff like
We
that.
should do national independence, clean up.
Clean up.
So every independence we dedicate it to fight one of the evils. So maybe this year we'll clean, next year I don't know.
We'll paint.
Yeah.
Do something.
Now President Akufo-Addo will today 5th March also cut the saw for construction of the National Cathedral. Though the cost of the project is unknown, the Board of Trustees says it will be funded through private contributions. The President has been criticized for his decision to build the National Cathedral in the face of numerous challenges facing the country. The story is basically saying that, in fact, some people went to court to challenge the government's decision to champion the project, but they were not successful. The President said the construction was in fulfillment of a promise he made to God in the run-up to 2016 election. Now, you interviewed the architect on your show, face to face. The cathedral, when completed, will have 5,000 seating capacity with chapels, a baptistry, a music school, an art gallery, and a Bible museum. And I'm told it's going to take 5 years. And you spoke to David Ajay.
Yeah.
That interview is on Citi Tube. You can watch it. It was an exclusive where he described other things he had done.
If you go to page 3 of the new Crusading Guide, they have a story on the MPP primaries. It looks like he's heating up.
There's a lot of MPP primary stories.
Somebody has gone to choke somebody because he used his credit card.
There are so many stories.
You listen to this. Now, it says, the ambition of Mr. Frederick Kakraba Sam to become the new Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidate for the Takrady constituency in the Western region is threatened by a petition bordering on fraud. The petition, dated February 25, 2020, was submitted to the MPP committee which vetted parliamentary aspirants in the Western region on Monday. The petitioner, Mr. Bernard Bartels Boham, a US-based Ghanaian, contends in his petition that Mr. Sam should be disqualified from the party's primaries or parliamentary primaries, alleging that the latter defrauded him by allegedly using his credit card. The petitioner explained that in 2017, he accommodated Mr. Sam and his wife in his home in Maryland, United States. And he said, quote, I accommodated him as a friend and a brother, but unfortunately, he had an ulterior motive. Kakraba Sam had earlier on used my address to shop online with stolen credit cards.
Forgive.
And the items were delivered at my address until I got to know and warned him. Little did he know that my own credit card had also been compromised to the tune of $3,900.
Oh, Charlie.
Mr. Bartels Boham alleged in his petition. So according to the petitioner, Fred Kakraba Sam returned to Ghana knowing very well that he may have charges pressed against him.
And he's running for which seat?
This is a Takrady constituency.
Let me give you a few more MPP stories. All 14 aspirants cleared to contest in Northeast region. This is the primary story on citynewsroom.com. It says all 14 MPP parliamentary aspirants contesting the 3 constituencies in the Northeast region have been cleared to contest by the regional vetting committee pending the outcome of the decision of the national executive. Then when you go to Bono region, 33 aspirants also vetted. 33 persons made up of 32 men and 1 woman have successfully gone through the vetting process of the MPP in the Bono region as the party prepares to go for its parliamentary primaries in April. And then so there were no disqualifications there. Then an interesting one from Tempane NDC. Widow of parliamentary candidate wins Tempane NDC primaries.
Wow.
And this is also called Lydia.
Hey.
So Miss Lydia Akanvariba Lamisi last Thursday defeated 2 candidates to replace her late husband David Adakurugu as the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Tempane constituency. A nurse by profession, Ms. Lamisi polled 402 votes to beat Cletus Azabi, a lecturer at the St. John Bosco College of Education, Avrongo, and Dr. Samuel George Anawat, a lecturer at UDS. Mr. Azabi got 190, while Dr. Anawat had 39. By that feat, Ms. Lamisi would now face MPP, sitting MP, Deputy Attorney General Joseph Pemka. So the NDC candidate for the constituency, David Adakugu, died in September last year, hence the need to hold new primaries to elect a candidate. And this is really a new trend. So
when the husband dies.
So first there was a Oklu for
that's the
Sanders area.
Sao Sudoku.
Sao Sudoku. That was in the run-up to 2016.
Yeah.
The husband died and the wife won the primaries and won the election.
Yeah. And she's become a very strong...
Yes. And then Lydia Al-Hassan also won after her husband died. Actually, it appears that a lot of the wives know more about politics than even their
husbands.
because they sort of entrench themselves. Anyway, final story for you.
Well, yes, I'm still staying with politics. According to page 2 of the Statesman, documents expose NDC lies on EC procurement. Documents made available to the Daily Statesman discredit published emails by the National Democratic Congress and Inter-Party Resistance Against New Voters Register, which are purported to be the exchange of communication between the supplier of the biometric verification devices and the Electoral Commission. On Tuesday, the NDC-led Inter-Party Resistance Against New Voters Register published emails suggesting that the EC does not need to compile a new register, and that all it needs to do is transfer data from the OBVDs. Interestingly, original letters from the EC indicate that the manufacturers of the equipment, through Supertech Ghana Limited, a local supplier of the equipment, earlier in May 2018, confirmed a recommendation to purchase new machines. So it looks like the MPP have their.
Let me end with this one. $200 million port project at Mpakadan and Debre to boost transportation on the Volta Lake. And the Volta Lake is to host the Akwamu Port project in 3 years' time, when the facility starts operating. The project, which is being spearheaded by construction and real estate investment firm LMI Holdings, will see the construction of 2 ports at Mpakadan and Debre in the eastern and savannah regions, respectively. So the eastern corridor is going to get a lot of life. The construction of the port is to boost trade on the Volta Lake, which is currently largely restricted to the transport of cement and fuel from the south to the north. The exercise carried out by Volta Lake Transport Company also adopts relatively less sophisticated equipment such as containers and cranes to load and transport bulky cargo to and from Akosombo. This is going to open up the country. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the News Review. Coming up next is